Shall we begin?
Yes.
Okay, very welcome. So we're very excited to be starting this seminar series called Digital Humanities After Hours. The idea is to demystify the concept of digital humanities and arts. So what does that mean in practice? That's what we're going to find out. So we've asked a series of speakers from a series of areas in digital humanities and arts to come and talk to us. Sigurður is the very first instance of such an expert. And the idea is that we're going to have a series of talks. They're going to be very informal. The experts are going to be providing very digestible bits and insights into their work, projects, and trades so we can learn more about digital humanities and arts. The very first speaker today is going to be Sigurður Gunnarsson, who's a photographer from the National Gallery of Iceland. Sigurður is currently in France, which is why he's joining us from Zoom. And he's going to be talking about color fidelity and preserving digital artworks. So all the work and all the knowledge that goes into making sure that when you photograph a piece of work, its colors are truthful to the original and why that matters for posterity and for us enjoying the works.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm just gonna start by sharing my screen and see like how goes like this. And so you see anything?
Yes, we do.
Okay, great. Yeah, hi, my name is Sigurður. Thank you very much. And I'm working in the National Gallery of Art as a photographer. Just going to talk a little bit about me. I started like before I worked at the National Gallery. I was working in different fields of photography.
Can I stop you for a second? Could you try to speak louder or closer to the mic? I guess it's difficult, but could you try to speak louder?
Yeah, okay. Do you hear me better now?
Slightly, yes.
Okay. Let me see the settings. Okay. Yeah. As I was saying, before I started working at the National Gallery, I was working as a photographer in different fields. I was doing weddings, I was doing journalism, and so on. And it wasn't until 2013 I got the job at the National Gallery of Iceland. I got an email from the head of registration. They were offering me a small piece of work to finish a project they had started with digitalizing contemporary art. It was a major digitization project that the National Gallery was participating in, and there I got my foot into the gallery, and I've been there since. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about the artworks we have in the National Gallery. We have over 15,000 artworks, which are including paintings, sculptures, prints, photographs, video, and multimedia installations. And our aim is that it's all to be digitalized or photographed or documented somehow in a digital manner. Now, like these photographs that I'm doing for the National Gallery, they are provided for many different fields. Some of them are for sarpur.is. There are different publications, product photography for our museum shop, for private use also, since people are there, they can buy images of artworks through sarpur.is. So we try to keep these images on Sarpur in good quality, and to provide like a better photograph if needed, if people want to buy a poster of the artwork of from Kjarval and so on. So that's part of my job to make sure that the images we provide are as truthful and correct as possible. And there is also research and conservation, which is more in-house in the museum. I'll come to that more later. Like when I started in 2013, it was quite a modest studio I had. It was one old Canon digital camera, a tripod, and no lights. So it was really kind of trying to improvise to do as to produce as the best photos I possibly could. I used also some of my own equipment, and but eventually the museum directors, they were really open for expanding the studio slowly. So I always got a bit of money each year to buy lights, to buy monitors, better computers, stands and rigs and everything that needed. So after a few years, it ended like this. This is my studio today. So it's full of mess. I mean, I have yeah. It's not always messy like this, but in a busy day, it can easily look like this. There are like uh, different kind of cameras, lights, and color targets, and rigs, and easels, and everything. Now, I'll tell you a bit about the importance of cultural heritage photography. It's as I said before, it's aligned with other fields in the museums. Conservation, they need images before and after restoration works, and having a good digital photo of a artwork, which is with truthful or faithful colors, can really help you to see also the decline or analyze the decline of the artwork. If you have a good image or photo of the artwork taken 10 years ago, and then you can compare it to how it is today, using the same or similar standards, then you can see any changes in that artwork. So it gives people greater access to our collection. Most people today they see artwork through the telephone online, and so we try of course to increase that accessibility, and this is also everywhere. I think most people have seen a picture of Mona Lisa. Only a minority of the world has seen the original itself. So there are many reasons to put effort into this work to produce and give as faithful images of the artworks as possible. And as I said before, it's also important for our cultural heritage database like sarpur.is that we can have like a really good and overview of our artwork to present to the audience. And so like the work in the gallery, it can be very challenging. There is like we have many different artworks, oil paintings with high gloss, very reflective. We have big, huge paintings, which is hard to move around to place somewhere, which can be photographed. We have fragile artworks, which you really have to be careful when you photograph, preferably with a conservator on place also. And the more I was working the longer I was working in the gallery, I also got like feedback from my work, like are the pictures good enough? I mean, the prints are maybe not always perfect. It looked better on my screen than it looked in real life. And people were maybe not happy when they got the picture to their screen, to their computer, to see the difference. It looked fine on my computer, but then when the person taking care of the layout saw the image, or the buyer, then he or she was not as happy and had in mind a completely different image. Which also, taking back to Sarpur, we still have many old photos of artworks circulating in Sarpur and on Google and everywhere. And pictures taken maybe 20 or 30 years ago, even longer, on high saturated slide film, which give like maybe extreme colors, extreme contrast. And people are used to seeing that image or that artwork like that. And then when I do my photo, which is I try to be as faithful as possible to the color reproduction, the people tend to get a bit disappointed. They didn't have in mind this flat image. They wanted to have more contrast, or but not always, but it has happened. And there is also when I was telling you before that people were not always agreeing on the results of the image I was doing or we were doing, is that we like perceiving color is not or our perception of color is very individual. You see color differently in the morning than you do in the evening. Your color perception can change also after your diet. What you eat can change the way you perceive color. If you are in love, you see color differently than if you are angry, and so on. It also, I mean, women apparently see color better than men. So it's always hard to do assessment or judgment on colors by seeing it yourself on a monitor. Even though the monitor is calibrated and in very expensive good monitor, then you still might have a problem of agreeing on if it's faithful or true or not.
Sigurður, is it okay if we ask you a question? Can we
Yeah.
interrupt?
Yes, I'm I'm just very curious about these methods. Can you please explain briefly what the difference in photographing or what filters or what is the difference between the before and after of these two pictures that look very different?
Yeah.
To me, but what is it? What happened?
Excellent question. Well, we cleaned it. So before, I don't think it had been cleaned for many decades. So and the conservator who did the work, he wanted to have a high resolution, good picture of the work before and then after. So it saves or like like registers the history of the artwork.
So it is really the effect of cleaning the painting that we see here. It was photographed with the same technique.
Same technique, same same studio, same camera, same light.
Yes.
Only a few weeks between.
Yes. Okay.
So that's and
Thank you.
there is even like probably further work to be done on this work. You see there are cracks on the rider and around the horse and so on. So there might be even more work to be done later.
Is it watercolor or oil?
Oil.
Yeah.
But with this like also like with this work we're doing, like photographing our artworks, it also spares the work from picking it up all the time if you want to see something or analyze something. if you have a high resolution image like this one, you can analyze and research the work up to a certain point. So there is always like you try not always to be picking up the artwork to take a look at it, the original. If you can have a high resolution image, then you are preserving the work. You're saving the work from the intrusion of picking it up and turning it around and putting it on the studio and so on. So it's also part of that work. But please, if you have more questions, then just bring them on. It's we don't need to save wait for the Q&A.
Could you maybe go into the what technique do you use to clarify digital photos?
Like you mean the steps in the studio or the equipment or just the
Yeah, I'm talking about making it lighter or dimmer, picking up the black spots,
yeah.
the contrast and saturation and so on.
Yeah. Well, I have in my studio I use like I have a media format camera, Fuji media format camera. I use Adobe programs to correct the images, fix contrast, saturation and color and so on, to do the color management. And also from Capture One. We have Capture One Pro 23, I think, which is also really good, especially for shooting, like tether shooting, when you connect the camera directly to the computer. So these are programs I use. I just wanted to show you also about when I was talking before about the it's not reliable to do a visual inspection of your photo, is that there is like a lot of color illusion going on. Also, you see on this picture the patch A and B, and you would say that patch B is much lighter than patch A, but in reality they are the same. I did like analysis of each patch in Photoshop, and you see the RGB values are all 120 on both patches. Like the B is the blue one and the A is the red one. And what's causing this is the shadow, the green cylinder are next to the patches, and all this can fool our mind that we think we seeing completely different colors than they really are. So therefore we use this color target to help us to analyze the photos, the colors in the photograph or in the artwork we are photographing. So this color target has one is 120 or 40 different color patches, and each of them has a special RGB number, which we try to follow faithfully when we are photographing or doing the color analysis. And this is the target before I start. This is the target I shoot in a dim or gray area, and I use a photo from that photo shoot in a software which analyzes the colors in the patch, and the software tells me if I am way off or if I'm close to the colors in this color target. So the software recognizes this color target and creates the profile for me. and therefore I should be like more or less going in the right direction with the color management of the photograph. So the program I'm using for this is called Luma River, which there are many different color programs you can use. Like software, again, Golden Thread, OpenDice, even Zebra. Some of them you have to pay for, some of them are free. And it can be really helpful to use these ones when you're creating your profiles. And there are also some in Lightroom from Adobe. There is some sort of like they can read these color cards, color targets themselves, but they're not as reliable as Luma River, I think. So I'm maybe telling you too much about programs and so on, but sort of just one of the key issues of doing a faithful color work or analysis in the photography process. So I did this. I asked Copilot to do like this image of like the studio setup and the process of photographing, and by some reason they couldn't do it in landscape. We could only do it in horizontal. So that's like the process I'm more or less following when I'm photographing artwork. But it was always like it was not always consistent. I mean, there was like I was not always getting the same results, and it's not a thing you can put up once, or a workflow you can put up once and always follow it. You always have to change by the artwork you're photographing and by the conditions you're working in. So I like talking about cultural heritage photography. I got to know some photographers from Finland who were traveling in Iceland 2017, and they told me to join them in a conference in Helsinki on cultural heritage photography, and that kind of conference kind of opened my eyes to this big world of photographing artwork. And there I heard about different guidelines or standards regarding photographing artworks, which I did not know about before. And these are guidelines followed by the big museums out there, by Rijksmuseum in the Netherlands and the Met in New York and so on. So that's when we're talking about color fidelity in artworks. This is a picture of Mona Lisa, taken just from a simple Google image search, and you see like there's many different tones and colors. So it's hard to pinpoint which one is the correct one, which is the right image. And you can do this with many other artworks. If you do like a Google image search or Bing or whatever, you get many different versions. Like you can get, of course, like this is not really the real artwork, but you can get pictures which is supposed to be the real artwork, but in different tones and different contrasts and so on. So I mean, there is like this goal of these guidelines, I guess, is to make this color consistency, that you can say that this picture is taken in certain settings by following certain standards or guidelines, and therefore it's as truthful as possible. Now these guidelines are two, and there is one ISO standard to be followed. Like the FATSI was published in 2010, and Metamorphose guideline in 2012 or 13. And then there's like the ISO standard of photographing cultural heritage work or digitization work. It's like the ISO standard tends to be more strict, but and the other ones are guidelines which are more flexible to the work you're doing. So it depends on the institution and so on, that you can apply it more to your situation that you are in. But they are pretty hard to follow. They have a great deal of information to follow and do's and don'ts, which can be hard for museums or to follow. That can be, the reasons can be financial and so on, that we don't have the resources to do that. And these guidelines, like I said before, they were born out of the need. Like they are the ones who financed these guidelines, Metamorphose and FATSI. They were like the archives in the Netherlands who financed the Metamorphose or like promoting that a guideline would be made how to photograph their acquisition. And the same in FATSI is from the US, and that is also from the archives in the US, the Federal Archives, National Archives. That they want to standardize the work of digitization, that each one, like we do it in a certain way, and the photographer that would come after the old one would continue based on that there would not be many changes on how these artworks are to be done. And as I said before, like the standard, the ISO standard, and these two guidelines, they reference to each other. They are in conversation to each other. So they are not competing, but they are more like in just working together to the or like not as a competition, but more as like just acknowledging each other. So, I mean, like I said before, they gave you instructions like of the best practices for high quality image capture of high quality photography, about the resolution, the color accuracy, and so on, noise level and sharpness. So, like I said before, they are all being followed, like these guidelines by big institutions and archives and museums out in the world. So they have like a guide, like you can they give you a quality rating system from your work. So you would, like I showed you before, you photograph the color chart, the color target, and you upload it into the software, color management software, and it tells you with the rating system if you are close to achieving a Metamorphose standard or FATSI standard or a ISO standard. To get the highest one can be really difficult, and everybody acknowledges that it is it's very hard to be on the top in these guidelines. There are many things that come into consideration when working in these guidelines or trying to reach the highest level. They can be the equipment, software, the studio, and also the nature of the thing that you are photographing. For example, if you have a high glossy object and you have to move the lights, or you have to tweak it so they want to reflect, all that can affect the color outcome and skew or distort your color work or color analysis you do in the software. And these standards and this workflow, they're not something you can like put like it's not like a step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. You follow them and then you like being with FACI or Metamorphosa standard image. But they tell you where you're wrong, where you're not, if the contrast is bad or if the saturation is too high and so on. They help you with that, but they don't tell you like what to do, how you're supposed to move your light or how you're supposed to move the camera. So you're gonna have to know that yourself and try to adjust to the system. I haven't been able to follow this 100%. I tried many times to reach like the highest rating of the. I show you here like of these guidelines, not always with good results. But what it has helped me with it is more that it's helped me with like understanding my work, where I should improve, like what I need to do better. And also it gives me indications like where I'm going with it. And it also can like it's more like a process. Like, it can really teach you like where to and where you wanna what you need to achieve like a higher standard or do better. It like it's not fault free. I mean, I have had like a preservation grade quality image, 4-star or strict metamorphose, and it hasn't really. But it looked horrible. Like it was not like it was all skewed. Like the colors were all off and contrast also. But by some reason it gave it like a full house. So it's not a really simple thing you can follow like 1, 2, 3. And yeah, on this slide is like all the ratings the FACI and Metamorphose have. And this one is from the ISO standard. They have a level A, B, and C, which is telling you like where you are in the work, and it gives you certain values you have to follow. Like if the value of color reproduction goes under a certain point, then you need to adjust. Then you fall down to level B or level C, and so on, and also with noise and so on. And they give all these instructions very thoroughly in their guidelines. You have to pay for the ISO one, for the ISO standard, but the FACI and Metamorphose are available online to download. And it can be really interesting to read and go over these guidelines. Sko, I'm finished with the slides, but like I remember I was talking to you a few weeks ago about like the title of the talk would be like the blue when blue is not blue and so on. And it was a suggestion that came from Elena, I think, and which I think was a really good title, because blue is a hard color to photograph. It has a really narrow bandwidth, and the sensors of the camera don't always pick it up correctly. So it's really prone to outside conditions, like if the lights are not 100% correctly set up, and if there is other things that matter, the way the texture is of the painting, blue painting and so on, this can really give you a false result. But thankfully, most of the time you see it with your bare eyes. But yeah, so that was a good title to end with. But and if you have any questions, I think I've been talking for almost for half an hour. So if you have any questions about my work or about color fidelity or color management and so on.
So I have another basic and simple question. So how much of the digital copies that you can see now at the National Gallery are kind of up to acceptable standards?
I don't have an overview of that. Haven't made we haven't made we have made a list of sharper entries that are missing a photo or missing an image, so we know that. But of the ones which are either too small or which are not really acceptable, we are not sure how many they are. Our most popular works, of course, like Sumarnótt or so on, they get I mean they're photographed regularly because there's much more demand for these works in books and publication and research and so on. But there are many other works like sketches in a book or like small works like almost curiosum things which are not as like they don't move up in the surface as equally as the other ones. And these ones are probably the ones who need most attention to be digitalized or made a good copy of.
I was interested in what you said about people perceiving colors differently,
Yeah.
and then you have different color theories. Alberts and Goethe and others have proposed theories of color.
Okay.
Is this the scientific method that you are describing that overrides all these individual differences and theories?
Well, yeah, you can have a photospectrometer to measure each color if you have an artwork and so on, and you can use the numbers from that spectrometer to feed into your software, and it corrects the image so it is in conversation or in line with these numbers. Well, for that we use the color targets. Like in the big museum, I saw a talk a few weeks ago from the photographers in the Rijksmuseum in the Netherlands. They have a photospectrometer which they analyze each patch from the color target, and they save this information in the software doing the color management. They do this because, I mean, when you buy the color target, there you can find the information of what each color is supposed to represent in numbers. But they say it's not accurate enough because each production varies. So you might have some differences between a color target made in 2014 and a color target made in 2020 and another one made in 2025. So to try to be as super accurate as you can, then you have these machines to give you these numbers. And the ones who are advocating for these standards or guidelines like the Metamorphose and FATSI, they say you should not really worry too much about the screens or like you only look at the numbers. If the numbers are right, then you should be okay. So don't bother looking at the monitor. But that's controversial. That's something that people don't all agree to.
I guess we have no idea about the calibration of this.
Sorry?
No, you asking as an amateur here, can you explain that grid of colors that you showed us?
Yeah. This one.
Yes, please explain how it works.
Do you see the mouse?
Pardon?
Do you see the mouse pointer on the screen when I?
Yes, we see the pointer.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So yes. So we have like here in the middle we have like the gray charts, which is like, I mean the way you see it on the screen is completely different, maybe the way I see it, but on the projector. But anyway, like this is like the gray charts, and this is good to measure like the white balance of the image. And the white balance is basically helping you to make the image not too blue or not too yellow, warm or cold. And there you take, for example, the F5, and you pick that one to choose the correct white balance. And then you have done that step. The same color or same gray is also in other places on the patch. Don't see really where it is, maybe on the D1 and on the periphery. And that's just to help you to see that it's supposed to be uniform light falling on the color target. So this gray has to be the same gray as this one and this one and this one and so on. And the white has to be the same this one and this one and this one. Some color management programs, they fix this for you, that they flatten out the image, so they make sure that all the white ones have the same value. And then you have like the colors here, like from purple, blue, green, and red, and yellow, and so on. They all have certain values, which is provided by the producer, X-Rite. So I don't memorize them, but this red one is supposed to have a certain value. And when you upload this image to the color management software, it knows, this is a color target from X-Rite, color checker digital, so on. And it tells the image, this red one is supposed to be in these values, and it corrects the image from these values.
But if you are photographing an artwork and the artist used very different, all sorts of different oil colors and mixed them in any conceivable combination.
Yes. Very, very, very good question. It's not really that they're trying to it gives you like this red one has a certain value, and there is also another red one which has another value, and so on. And it takes everything in between. Like it would be impossible to make a color chart with all the colors of the artwork you're photographing. So it gives you kind of average value, and therefore it corresponds to the artwork. It's trying to avoid, like, if this red one would have too much yellow in it and it would turn orange, then that would affect the whole image you would take afterwards, and then it would, like, the red is, or the red color in the painting would then be orange and so on. Even though it's not precisely the same red one as this one, it would still distort it.
Do you use this to make sure that if you take multiple images, they will all be the same? Multiple images of the same piece?
Yes, that's
of the same artwork?
Yes, that's maybe I wasn't clear enough about it in the beginning, but so it is like in this diagram the co-pilot did, which is not really a correct like 100%, but I did it just for fun also. That, like, you do the studio setup, you you photograph the color target, you apply the color target, and then you can start photographing. And if you don't change the lights, you don't change the position of the camera, you don't change the lens, you can use this setup to photograph as many artworks or prints as you want. And then that helps you with batch work of
Okay, I think I can get
and,
that.
and then you can discuss how many times you should do the profiles. You did redo the profile like every day or every week and so on. And then there is the question of if you have one artwork which is matte water color and then the next one is high glossy oil painting. And you have to move the lights to prevent reflection. And by the book, you should then do another color profile. You cannot use it because you changed the lights and so on.
Yep.
So this is super. Just to add one thing, this is super practical if you are photographing. If you have maybe 300 like drawings from a drawing books to photograph, this is a very good process or workload.
Okay, I get that.
Yeah.
The word color target, does that apply to this grid or does it apply to the artwork?
The grid. That's the target. Yeah.
Import the color target image. Does that mean this grid image? Do we import that in Profile Manager, or do you take a picture of the painting and import that?
This one, only this one.
This one, the grid.
Yeah. And there is also like the way they do it in the big museums, like in the Netherlands, for example, that like this color target is I don't know how many centimeters, maybe it's 20 something centimeters times 24, maybe times 20 centimeters, the size of the color target, and they photograph only that true size of the artwork. And then they move the camera or the easel with the artwork and move and take another portion, and again, always with a target. And then they stitch it all together to a huge, enormous digital file of the artwork. And that in this work, it is very important to have a color target to make like the consistency in the photography and the color management, because you're moving from another point to the artwork, and there might be also you're moving the lights and everything, so it might be some small differences in every step.
So you have, do I understand correctly that you have analyzed the artwork according to the wavelength of the light that comes from each tiny section of the piece? Do you have the grid tell you what the wavelength is?
No, not of the artwork, only of the color checker. We like color analyzing of the artwork itself. We don't do that much of that in the National Gallery, but it's done by the conservators and so on. If they want to know why this red is like this. It can be helpful for the photographer also, but that's not.
Yeah, I see. Can we just briefly talk about the poor Mona Lisa and all different colors there?
This is horrible.
So if we assume that the original was in fact the one in the Louvre or wherever it is hanging,
okay,
what's happened from one painting to the other here?
In this one,
is it the light that falls on it, or is it the filters in the camera? Or what is?
It can be many things. It can be like this is web resolution images. It can be that by time, if you open and close a JPEG image, it loses quality all the time.
Okay.
And also, it can be also that somebody took this photo on a telephone of a book, maybe a poster. They are pretty good today, these telephones, so they can. So when we're looking at it this small, we can't really like analyze its origin so easily. And yeah, it can be also a scan. Maybe there is yeah, a poster or it was published in a book, and then they scanned it for a thesis or something, and just there are many different ways of this to go all over the place. This one could be a really old photo, as far as we know, and
Does
so
none of them come close to the original?
I don't know. I'm not sure, but in my neighborhood in France, we have like this mall called Alma. This is Smart Alma Studio on this photo, and they're gonna bring some artworks from the Louvre to Alma, and apparently they're gonna show uh, a reproduction of Mona Lisa or the Seconde there. And it's supposed to be a big thing because Louvre have some like copies of Mona Lisa, which are supposed to be super detailed and thoroughly made. So it's going to be a big happening. It's starting tomorrow. So I think I will go and take a look and try to see how it looks like. And I think it's also wonderful that they're doing this in a shopping mall, that they're bringing artworks from the Louvre. Like the Mona Lisa is the only one which is a copy. The rest are supposed to be like the real ones.
If I remember, the kind of the Rijksmuseum has been very progressive in making kind of quality copies available just online for free for anyone.
Mm.
With the argument that if you don't, then you have kind of very bad copies flying around
Yeah.
on the
Yes.
internet.
Yes.
So where are we at in Iceland when it comes to this? How easy is it to get or find
Yeah.
a good copy of?
Yeah, it's hard to. I don't think we are in a. We could do better. I mean, we're not in the bottom or doing or like doing awful job, but I think we could do much better. Like even in the Netherlands, if you go to Rijksstudio and you browse the images there are some ones which are not like you can see that there are some old photos there of artworks, which are scans, and you can see the colors are not, they look dubious, and also some of them still have like seem to be not had to be processed properly, that they still have the color target beneath them, so they haven't bothered cropping them or anything. So I think they're probably dealing with the same issue as us. Like there are some artworks which are always on the top because they're so popular. And then there are the ones who are not as popular and they kind of get neglected and they don't have a faithful image of themselves. But regarding our collection in Sarpur, as I said before, I don't know the precise number or how much, but I think we have quite much in good condition. But then there is always like should we never give away an image which is not 100%. Like if we don't have the resources to be digitalizing, photographing non-stop, then we might also just accept that we can't have like the super quality image of every work, and some of them might go out not 100%, go in circulation. But that's the same thing with Rijksmuseum. These photos which I described before, which were not processed properly or like had bothered cropping them, they are available for you to download, and many of them you can use.
Any more questions?
Good.
Yeah, so let's thank our speaker. Thank you very much, Sigurður.
Thank you.
This is a really fascinating topic. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, and if you have any questions, then you can always contact me, and also just to say doing this cultural heritage photography or digitizing is something you don't need to be on the top to start. You don't need all the equipment. You don't need all the resources. It's okay also to start if you follow like simple guidelines, like to have a color target available on the image or before you do the photography photos. It's not a complex thing to do. So don't stop doing it or cancel your work because it looks too enormous to begin.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.